This will be a video on how to make an overlay for the Streamlabs that basically shows your abilities as you press them in-game. I've divided the process into 5 parts. First we got to get the programs, then we have to make the animations, then we export the animations, then we import it to the Streamlabs as a media source, and then we set the hotkeys. When that is done, you've basically completed the whole process of making the abilities show as you click them. The programs we're going to use is After Effects. We're going to use the plugin called Saber, don't worry, it's free. And then we're going to use Streamlabs. So the animation we're going to make is basically a transformation ultimate like Vayne. She has it in particular in her Project Vayne skin, where the overlay kind of shows as she ults. Once you have the required programs, the first thing we need to do is making the animations. I'm not going to show you how to do them because I'm not a motion graphics designer myself, so instead I'm going to leave a link to Video Copilot where you can learn a little bit of After Effects on your own. The only thing that's important is that the background is transparent once you export it. I'm going to let the rest of the animating process run out in the background. If you just want the export settings, you can skip to the timestamp in the description. Alright, so now that we've made the clip and we've tested it a few times, we're ready to export it. So we add the animation or the composition to the render queue. I haven't had success with using the media encoder because we have to use a very specific export type, and that is the AVI with the transparency setting here, as you see on the screen. So once we've selected that, we basically save the file and render it. So now that we've rendered it and we've tested it, we open our Streamlabs. Now we have to add a media source. We create a non-existent. We give it a good name. I tend to name mine as the abilities I use. And then we find the video clip that we just made. The only setting that is really important here is that it's replayed as soon as it's shown again. That way it will always replay once you hide it and show it again. But now we will have the issue that if we click our ultimate once, it will hide the layer and basically hide our overlay. The way we're gonna avoid this is by creating an identical media source that will work as the alternate version. So when one is hidden, the other one will show, and vice versa. It is important that you follow the steps that I do here, because if you just make a duplicate one of the previous one, they're gonna be treated as the same layer. So now we hide one of them, and then we go to settings. We roll down to find our scene in HotKeys, and then find the sources we just put in. So what we're gonna do is hide and show the layers with the same key press. So in this case, it's the ultimate, which would be the R. That means that if you click it once, it will hide. If you click it again, it will show. And since we have 2 media sources, where one starts hidden and the other one starts shown, they're gonna alternate between showing one and the other. That way it's always gonna reset every time you press the button. So now we can finally test the small little media source we added with the video. You can kind of see the small visor bars at the sides. And when I click the ultimate button, you basically get the full animation. As you can see, the overlay animation is slightly delayed from the actual game, and that is due to the 0.25 seconds I delayed the animation to prevent the spamming of effects when I press the ultimate button. So here I'm clicking my ultimate button a lot of times very quickly, and you can kind of see that it flickers shortly, and that's why I suggest that you keep the first 0.25 seconds completely empty, and that way we can reduce the amount of seizures people will get. If you've made it to here, then we have one ability that basically triggers every time you click it, and now the only thing that remains is that you repeat it for every single ability you want to use it for. So before you jump in and create a super detailed, explosive overlay, let's talk a little bit about the feedback that I received from the Reddit post. A lot of the concerns was about that a lot of things would be happening on the screen at the same time, and therefore reduce the readability for the viewer and also make it really annoying overall. So what I instead suggest is that you focus on trying to help the viewer understand what is happening on the screen by only adding a few lines or a few animations so they don't get blasted away. Another concern is that a lot of people spam their ability when they cast them, so the way we're gonna avoid the issue is by making the 0.25 seconds or so completely transparent so that the replay starts even before anything shows up.